Okay, welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the material you send us, the sources, and really pull out the core insights, the stuff that makes you think.
And today we're looking at a really powerful piece by David Adu. It's called I Speak the Bitter Truth, Not the Comfortable Lie.
Yeah, and that title tells you a lot. This isn't a gentle read.
Not at all. Adu, he really goes straight for it, dissecting how we often pick, well, comfortable illusions over truths that might be harder to face.
Exactly. So think of this as your way to quickly grasp Adu's main argument and maybe what it means for your own path, especially if you're looking for those real aha moments, but maybe without wading through dense text.
Right, so our mission here is to unpack that core message, understand its implications.
Okay, so let's dive right in. His central idea, this concept that comfort, it can actually become a kind of prison. What's he getting at there?
Well, his argument, as I see it, is that if you're only surrounded by people who tell you everything's fine, who kind of, encourage mediocrity just to keep things peaceful,
Feels good, maybe, in the moment.
right, feel safe. But Adu says it actually stops you from growing. You get stuck, comfortable maybe, but limited.
And that title, I Speak the Bitter Truth, Not the Comfortable Lie. That's him basically throwing down the gauntlet, saying break free from that.
Precisely. It's a challenge to that very complacency.
What's really striking is his stated goal. He says outright, his aim isn't to make the reader feel good, he wants to make you feel real. Why do you think he draws that line?
That's a great question. I think it signals that he's valuing deep self-awareness over just feeling pleasant on the surface.
Like, superficial happiness isn't the point.
Exactly. Like it's as if he's saying, look, I'm not here to just, pat you on the back. I'm here to hold up a mirror, even if what you see is uncomfortable.
And that honest look, he suggests, is sort of the prerequisite for any real change.
Which brings us neatly to his next point, this idea of the lie that feels like love. That sounds contradictory, right? We usually think politeness, diplomacy. That's kindness.
Sure, that's the standard thinking. But Adu flips it. He argues these comfortable lies, even if they're well-intentioned, can be harmful. He actually calls them poison.
Yeah, poison. Strong word. And he gives some very vivid examples.
Can you share a couple of those? They really illustrate his point.
Okay, one that stands out is telling a drowning friend you'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
On the surface, maybe it sounds like encouragement, but it's completely detached from the reality of the danger. It offers zero actual help.
It denies the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or telling yourself it's not that bad when you're in, say, a personal crisis. That kind of self-talk, it stops you from even acknowledging there is a serious problem that needs action.
Right. And he talks about relationships, too.
He does. The example of saying, I forgive you to a partner, but underneath you're still holding on to resentment. It just papers over the cracks, doesn't solve anything.
So these lies, they create this false sense of okayness, basically.
Yeah, a false security. And it prevents dealing with the real issues. Adu really hammers this home with that story he tells about the young man who was failing. Remember that?
Yes, that's a core part of his argument, isn't it? Tell us about that.
So this young man, he's struggling. And everyone around him keeps making excuses for him. Oh, it's not your fault. Things are tough, the kind of thing.
Comforting him.
Comforting him, yes. But Adu argues it was shielding him from taking any responsibility. The shift only happened when someone finally told him the blunt truth. You are the problem.
Wow. That is direct. I imagine that didn't go down well initially.
No. Adu mentions the fallout, breakdown, anger, denial, the works. But crucially, he argues that this painful moment, this harsh truth, was the catalyst, the turning point he needed to actually start changing.
So why is that sting so vital, according to Adu? Why the need for the pain?
I think Adu's perspective is that real growth, it inherently involves some level of discomfort.
Yeah.
It has to.
You can't just float through it.
Right. He says no one grows from flattery, and no one heals from silence. That sting, that jolt of truth, it forces you to confront reality. It breaks through denial, through the comforting narratives we build or others give us.
It shakes you out of complacency.
Exactly, like necessary pain, like setting a broken bone. Hurts, but it's required for healing.
It really makes you reflect on the subtle ways we avoid uncomfortable truths ourselves. And Adu goes deeper with this, right? The hidden costs of comfort, these whispering lies.
Yes, these are the quieter, more insidious lies. The ones that don't feel like a big confrontation, but they slowly corrode things from the inside.
What kinds of examples does he use for those?
Things like staying in a loveless marriage just for appearances, or avoiding the risk of starting that business you dream of because you tell yourself, oh, I'm not cut out for it.
Self-limiting beliefs.
Precisely. Or even just accepting this background notion that, well, maybe true happiness isn't really possible for me. These lies, Adu argues, they create this internal stagnation, a slow decline.
And it feels like he's speaking from experience here. He mentions writing from the battlefield.
He does. And that adds, I think, a lot of weight. He's not just theorizing. He's saying, I've been through loss, through change, through confronting hard truths myself.
So it's grounded in lived reality.
It suggests he really understands the pain involved,
Right.
but also the perhaps greater pain of not facing the truth, of staying stuck in deception.
Which leads directly to his pretty stark points about the price of speaking truth versus just staying silent. He doesn't really pull any punches there, does he?
No, not at all. He's very upfront. Choosing truth, speaking truth, it can have consequences.
Yeah.
Might lose friends. People might misunderstand you. You might get labeled difficult or negative.
Yeah.
But then he lands that incredibly powerful line. Better to be hated for truth than loved for a lie.
That's uncompromising. What's your take on that?
It's definitely challenging, but I think it underscores his core belief in the ultimate value of authenticity over, say, superficial harmony.
Like being liked for something fake is actually worthless?
That seems to be his point. It's hollow. Real connection, even if it sometimes involves friction, is worth more. And he links this idea to what he calls a kind of love that sets you free.
Okay, what does he mean by that?
He says it starts with being radically honest with yourself first. No filters, no masks, no pretending. That's the starting point for real freedom.
So the piece itself is intended as, what did he call it? A mirror.
A mirror, a challenge, a rescue, all tools essentially built around this fundamental commitment to truth as the way out, the way up.
Right. So bringing it all together, what's Adu's final message, his call to action, if you will, for someone listening who's maybe resonating with this?
Well, his closing thought is pretty intense. He says, if you're ready to change, be ready to bleed.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. He's really talking to people who are just tired of pretending, tired of carrying the weight of expectations, maybe their own or others.
Fed up with the comfortable lies.
Exactly. And his core point is,
Mm.
if you want real transformation, deep change, you have to confront the uncomfortable stuff. And yeah, that process, it can hurt. It involves emotional difficulty.
It's definitely not a 5 easy steps kind of message.
No, it's not a quick fix. He's clear about that. His stated purpose isn't to please people, it's to free them.
And that freedom, in his view, is found in the truth and finding the courage to actually face it.
That's the heart of it. David Adu's piece is a powerful argument for the, yes, often uncomfortable, but ultimately, he believes, profoundly liberating power of truth for genuine personal growth.
So as you're thinking about Adu's challenging ideas, maybe we can leave you with this final thought to mull over. Consider just one area in your life, maybe just one, where a comfortable lie, something you tell yourself, or let others tell you might be subtly holding you back. What would it actually look like to face the bitter truths there head on? And what potential for real change might that honesty unlock for you? That's something to take into your own ongoing deep dive.